mo ti gbìyànjú mo ti exhaust list bí àṣà àwọn olóyìnbó. Arákùnrin Balógun Gbóǹkà ẹ gbá gbohùngbohùn o, ẹ ṣé púpọ̀ o, ẹ kújọ́ mẹ́ta o. Ẹ má bínú ní last month last week pé àwa èmi ni ó rẹ̀ mí ni o, ara ìṣòkúta gbogbo ọ̀nà fún oró àwẹ̀ ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ dẹ̀ ó dẹ̀ tún rẹ̀ mí, so I could not come last month week. Mo f'Olódùmarè bẹ̀ yín, ẹ jọ̀ọ́ ẹ má bínú sí wa o, ẹ ṣáà mọ rántí wa díẹ̀díẹ̀ bí mo ṣe sọ, a nílò ìrànlọ́wọ́ yín o, láìsí ẹ̀yin a lè dá ṣe. Ẹ ṣé púpọ̀ o. Gbóǹkà, over to you, sir.
Bro, check your back channel. Hello? Ṣáwọn èèyàn gbọ́ mi?
A gbọ́ yín o, à ń gbọ́ yín Gbóǹkà.
Hello,
Ó ti rí.
ẹ jọ̀ọ́ ẹ má bínú, mo fẹ́ sọ̀rọ̀ kan lórí kékeré ni lórí platform yìí ni pé ẹ mọ̀ pé gbogbo ohun tá à ń ṣe ilẹ̀ Yorùbá là ń ṣe fún. I am a Christian. Ẹ jọ̀ọ́ bàbá ṣe máa ṣe tá a máa carry ìṣẹ̀ṣe along tí ó máa fi di global.
Jẹ́ kí n sáré.
It's already global, but tí àwa náà máa fi máa benefit bí àwọn Saudi àti Israel bó ṣe ń benefit, àwọn tó yẹ ká carry along ẹ jẹ́ ká carry wọn along, ẹ jọ̀ọ́.
Ẹ ní sùúrù sir, ṣé sir. The patron of TYF is Professor Wande Abimbola, the Araba Agbaye, Araba Odua of the world. Professor Wande Abimbola, former senator, former vice chancellor of the University of Ife, and former senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and the #1 ambassador, global ambassador of Yoruba religion worldwide, is our patron. This organization was founded, àwọn ni wọ́n ní pé ká nìṣó tí pé kò sí nǹkan kan. Àwọn ni wọ́n ní pé ibi tá a bá lọ, ibikíbi tán bá ti kóra wọn jọ láti ta wá ní ọfà, búburú kankan ò ní ṣẹlẹ̀ sí wa. Bàbá tí wọn ò jẹ́ kí kán jẹ́ kí tiwa, tí wọn ò jẹ́ kí ojú ó tì wá nìyẹn nígbà tójú ogun le. So nígbà tí Professor Wande Abimbola bá jẹ́ leader tán jẹ́ patron wa, ṣe mọ̀ pé I understanding the importance of the Yoruba religion. Ṣọ́rọ̀ mi yé yín sà. Ẹlẹ́ẹ̀kejì, there are a lot of members of TYF that wọ́n wà lórí stage náà o, tó jẹ́ pé executive TYF ni wọ́n, that are the adherents of Yoruba religion. Ṣó ti yé yín? Ṣùgbọ́n there is adẹ̀ láwọn àfáà nínú TYF, àwọn àfáà tí ń wé láwàní gidi sórí, tẹ́ pé láwàní wọn ga ju Sheikh Labeeb lọ. Adẹ̀ láwọn pásítọ̀ tó jẹ́ pé bíríbírí wọn, wòlíì wọn, wọ́n ń gba bíríbírí ni. Bá a ṣe nínú mẹ́ta lọ́kan ló wà ní TYF. Ṣùgbọ́n in time preach níta, we are preaching secularism and Yorubanism. Torí a nílò rẹ̀. In time yìí ń sọ yẹn, in time ń ṣiṣẹ́ lé lórí ni, ṣùgbọ́n a lè sọ̀rọ̀ síta. Àwọn olóṣèlú wa gangan táwọn kan wọ́n ṣiṣẹ́ lé lórí, and you will be surprised. Ṣùgbọ́n kò ṣeé sọ níta on how it needs to be done because ògiri létí, and we need to be very very careful of what we are doing and how we are going to do it. Ṣùgbọ́n tẹ́ ẹ sọ ọ̀rọ̀ wà ń bẹ̀, a dẹ̀ ti take note. Ẹja lè ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ lecture. Èèyàn more than 300 people ló ti wà ní room báyìí. Arákùnrin Gbóǹkà.
Well, I'm satisfied with what you said.
Ẹ ṣé sà, ẹ ṣé sà. Gbóǹkà.
You can continue on the other thing.
Ẹ ṣé. Okay, Gbóǹkà.
Hi, bro. I'm on the car. I'm driving, but my daily in 5 minutes. So I'm late to my daily. I will reach out. Ẹ jọ̀ọ́ ẹ má bínú ẹ̀yin èèyàn mi. I look forward to engaging today.
Okay, ẹ ṣé púpọ̀. I'm going to start. Mo kí gbogbo wa ní orúkọ Olódùmarè. Mo kí wa lórúkọ Aṣẹ̀dá. mo kí wa lórúkọ akọ́dá ayé, mo kí wa lórúkọ àwọn tó tẹ ilé Ifẹ̀ dó, mo kí wa lórúkọ àwọn akọni tí wọ́n ti ta ìjẹ wọn sílẹ̀ kílẹ̀ Yorùbá ó lè rí bó ṣe yẹ kó rí. Mo kí gbogbo wa lórúkọ
àtàwọn tó tẹ̀lé gbogbo Yorùbá dó.
mo kí gbogbo àwọn orúkọ mo kí wa
ẹ jọ̀ọ́ sà, ààrẹ ní sùúrù, ààrẹ ẹ ní sùúrù. Ẹ jọ̀ọ́ sà, má bínú sà, tí wọ́n bá ti ń táàrẹ bá ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ lecture àbí anybody, ẹ jọ̀ọ́ nítorí Ọlọ́run sà, ẹ má interject wọn. So tán bá ti wá ṣe tán pátápátá, so ẹ nawọ́ sókè, then a máa mú oníkálukú. So ìgbà yẹn sà, ẹ ráyè láti sọ̀rọ̀ dáadáa. Ṣé gbọ́ sà, ẹ ṣe nǹkan sà, ẹ má bínú sà. Ààrẹ go on.
mo kí gbogbo wa lórúkọ Olódùmarè lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí i. Torí tí ò bá sí Olódùmarè kò sí tó ń jẹ́ Yorùbá, kò dẹ̀ sí tó ń jẹ́ ayé. Mo dẹ̀ ní ìgbàgbọ́ wípé ìran Yorùbá jẹ́ ìran kan tí a yàn fẹ́. Ó jẹ́ ìran kan tí ó yàtọ̀ sí gbogbo ìran láyé. Àwọn kan lè sọ pé gbogbo ìran bákan náà ni gbogbo ìran. Bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ni, ṣùgbọ́n a mọ̀ pé alára ló ń gbáraga. Ṣùgbọ́n mo dẹ̀ tún sọ ó dẹ̀ tún yé mi ni pé ìran Yorùbá, ìran tí Olódùmarè wà pẹ̀lú ẹ̀ ni. I'm going to go deep into Awolowo. Awolowo is the father of the modern Yoruba nation. Awolowo is the father of the modern Yoruba race. Awolowo is the reason why we are here. Ṣé rí Awolowo, people don't actually understand how important that man is in the history of the Yoruba people. Tẹ́ bá dẹ̀ ń sọ pé ẹ fẹ́ another Awolowo ní 2025, ẹ ń tanra yín ni o. You might not get another Awolowo for the next 2,000 years. Àwọn Júù wọn ò rí Moses mọ́ for the past 4,000 years. There is no other Moses for the Jews. Àwọn Arabs wọn ò rí another prophet Muhammad mọ́ for the past 1,500 years. A lè má rí another Awolowo mọ́ for the next 3,000 or 4,000 years. Tí ìran Yorùbá bá ṣì wà, tẹ̀tọ́ wù mí kí ìran Yorùbá ṣì wà. Torí in tí Awolowo ṣe, ó jọ ohun tí àwọn ìran kan ṣe ní Europe tán pè ní Otto von Bismarck. Ṣé rí this aspect of this trying to juxtapose the characteristics and the achievement of Otto von Bismarck and Awolowo is what many intellectuals and many sociologists and many historians have not done for a long time. I'm going to start with who is Otto von Bismarck. And I'm going to try and juxtapose it with the achievement, the nature of the characteristics and the life of Chief Obafemi Awolowo. Because we cannot talk about Awoism without first understanding who is Awolowo. It is normal for me to say, oh, Awolowo is from Ilishan, he's from Ikene, he's from Ijebuma, he's a Remo man, he's born in 1909. All those blah, blah, blah. Gbogbo àwọn yẹn ephemerals. And when we talk here in King Yoruba Force, we are talking on the highest, at the highest realm of intellectualism. We need to go deep. And if you have books, have papers, have pen, a lot of things, taban sosile, cross check it. Let's have tabawani next time. A question. Because we need to liberate millions of people. We want people to be able to host spaces like this. Africa is now an open space where thousands of our youth, millions of our youth will be liberated. Because Sherry àwọn Gen Z, àwọn ignorant, arrogant, woke youth, àwọn ni wọ́n bà ti Iran jẹ́, tí wọ́n destroy Iran, tí wọ́n jẹ́ káwọn extremists kí wọ́n take over history. Àwọn ni wọ́n plan protest ti Iranian revolution. Àwọn ni wọ́n gbàgbára lé àwọn Ayatollah lọ́wọ́. They were used. the way they are using a lot of our youths in the name of NSAS, and they cannot see. NSAS is a logical, there is always a reason. And they will always give you a reason why you need to self-destruct. So we need, but if you properly educate our youth will not become cannon foders, so that they will not be used to destroy their homeland. We need to be very careful. Ignorance is not an excuse in Nigeria, because our ethnicities to just sharks ni wọ́n wà ní Nigeria. Ethnicities they are very ruthless, they are very brutal. All they think about is domination, 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 domination. All they think about is power, 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 and power. And it's a bitter truth. You can't love political Islam, you can't love political Christianity, but I'm not here for them. Today we are talking about Otto von Bismarck. And today I'm going to talk about Otto von Bismarck, and I'm going to talk about Awolowo. Sherry, 300 years ago, because the country in Germany. There was no country called Germany 300 years ago. The existence of Germany as a country, as an ethnic, as a nation state, the German nation, to 200 years. So you need to understand. Yoruba people used to be in different ethnicities and Yoruba people were never under one political umbrella. That was the case for Japan. That was the case for Germany. That was the case for China. That was the case for the French. And even that was the case for the British, English. Even though I want to achieve nation state status, 100, 200 years, 1,000 years ago, some people achieved this 500 years ago, some people achieved this 400 years ago, some people achieved this 200 years ago. Now, don't get me wrong. Mama saw a lot of technical jargons. Technical jargons, political scientists, sociologists. But I'm going to beg you to go get along with me to understand a lot of things I'm saying. And if I'm mentioning some terms, you need to be able to write those terms down. Now, there is Yoruba as a civilization state. It depends, maybe you want to call it Olukumi. It depends, maybe you want to call it Ife. As a civilization state has been existing for the past 1,000 years. It's more than a millennium. And there's a difference between existing as a civilization state and existing as a nation state. India has been existing as a Hindu civilization state for more than 3,000 years. But it started existing as a nation state just less than 100 years ago. So you can exist as a civilization state without existing as a nation state. So Germany, it was made up of different Germanic kingdoms, Germanic fiefdoms, Germanic dukes, then duchesses ruling different parts. So Germany is an amalgamation of Germanic speaking people, speaking different dialects of the German language. You have the Bavarians, the people from Cologne, people from Hamburg, people from Schleswig-Holstein, different parts of Germany, the different Germanic tribes. Austria was also part of the Germanic kingdom. Even England was part of the Germanic kingdom. England was also part of the Germanic kingdoms. That was why in the first meeting that took place, after the fall of the Holy Roman Empire, and they were trying to have a Germanic kingdom confederacy. The Prince of England was there because they were Germans, and the English were Germanic people. So that was when at the beginning they decided trying to, we need to have a Germany. And France, which was a great power then, never wanted a powerful Germany. They never wanted a united Germany to exist. Because a united Germany, and they were right, a united Germany is a threat to Germany, to the hegemony of France. It's a threat to Europe. It's a threat to Europe. So they wanted a big, they fought against it. But Germany would unite. Even though these people have the same ancestry, they can understand themselves, they speak almost the same language. Yeah, all of them are Germans, all of them are Germanic people. Within the same political bloc, they never wanted it. And that is where this man rose up. Otto von Bismarck, they call him the Iron Chancellor. And Otto von Bismarck was from a place. Sherry, there are different kingdoms, different places to one in Germany. And then a particular place to one in Germany was Prussia. And that place to one in Germany to one extremely important here. In Prussia. Prussia was the most powerful state in Germany. That most powerful state to one in Germany here. Ibeni Otto von Bismarck tiwa. So Prussia, ought be Ibadan within the Yoruba space as a city state. So Ibadan trying to unite the, I don't want to paint, because when we start talking about that part of Yoruba history, some of our people from Eastern Yoruba land are not happy about it. I understand. Sherry Ife Empire was built on a kind of Ebi system. Ebi system, we are all from the same source. We have the same ownership. We have the same civilization. And built on economic hegemony. Because if Ife was a center of empire, Ife it was a center of excellence, Ife was a center of technological advancement, Ife was a center of technological innovation. So you can create an empire through that system. The Chinese did it. The Chinese created a system called the Middle Kingdom, where they believe they have the mandate of heaven. The Ife now had the same thing now. Ife, they believe that Ife is the source of all civilization. Now, Ife believed Wípé àwọn ni the source of all civilization. So their system, it was not militaristic. The expansion of Ife, out of Ife, and the exploit of Oromiyan, where Oromiyan was going to create Benin, Oromiyan was going to create Oyo. Those were militaristic campaign and the militaristic expansion of the empire. So it was a different ball game about the hegemony of the civilization state of the Yoruba land. It was not based on militaristic foundation. It was based on mercantilist. It was based on economic. But the best way is to call it the Ebi system. Also, but when you talk about so Akanwani civilization states the different kingdoms were doing their thing. Oyo was a different ball game. Oyo was a militaristic empire. Ibadan was a militaristic empire, which was using not just economic might or using civilization might in order to unite the entire Yoruba people into a particular fold. It was using power. It was using force, just like what many empires were doing. So, Otto von Bismarck only unites the entire, because I don't want to go into the history, because that can take me another 4 or 5 hours to talk about the creation of Germany. So the creation of modern Germany. So the creation of Germany, where Prussia will lead here as one of the kingdoms, powerful kingdoms that united the entire Germanic people, and they had a powerful leadership. Without Otto von Bismarck, kò lè sí tó ń jẹ́ Adolf Hitler, kò lè sí tó ń jẹ́ Germany. Otto von Bismarck ló ṣe gbogbo iṣẹ́ yẹn, òun ló lay the foundation of Germany. And he united the entire Germanic people. So when we say Yoruboid people, Our people, they are Yoruboid. Ilaje, they are Yoruboid. Ilsekiri, they are Yoruboid. When we talk about Ikekiti, Egba, Oyo, they are all Yoruboid. Okun, they are all Yoruboid. Igomina, they are all Yoruboid. So the amalgamation of all Ife descendants, what even makes the Yoruba case more interesting is that we claim to have a single identity and single ancestry. So the Yoruba case, Tori and Yemi, if you define the Yoruba people in a different definition, that the Yoruba people are an ethno-linguistic and ethno-religious identity. Ethnic one be, linguistic one be, which is pé àwọn kan lè máa sọ èdè Yorùbá kan lè ti pẹ́ láàrin wa kan lè ti di Yorùbá. Wọ́n wà dáadáa. Ìran Bàrìbá, ìran Nupe, ìran Haúsá, ìran Fúlàní tó ti di Yorùbá. Wọ́n pọ̀ láàrin wa dáadáa. Kò dẹ́ ìṣọpọ̀rọ̀ Ìlọrin là ń sọ. Wọ́n ń bẹ l'Ékòó. Wọ́n ń bẹ ní Èkìtì. Wọ́n ń bẹ l'Oǹdó. So that's the bitter truth. A lot of people have one Benin Republic. They've assimilated into the Yoruba system. And we also have the ethno-religious identity. Some people became Yoruba by adopting Yoruba religious practices. So by means, Yoruba is even a community of practice. So it's an ethno-religious and ethno-linguistic identity. And people came together to create, so that's what is called Yoruba. So we're a civilization state. But we've not been able to be in the same nation state. Torí ẹ̀ ni, there are a lot of people in this audience that are not Yoruba, but listening to this history. Why are they listening to this history? They are listening to this history in order to know the weakness of the Yoruba people and to know who we are. Sherry, Yoruba history is what you go and look at Igbos, Ijos, Yorubas, even Fulani, the way they talk about Yoruba history. Because if you know the history of your competitors and your enemies, you can be able to predict their future and you can be able to tackle them and destroy them. And that was what Azikwe did for the Yoruba people in the First Republic. Zik was an eternal enemy of the Yoruba people. He's an eternal enemy of anything called Yoruba consciousness. And it is only people that are doomed for destruction who will think the enemies of their ancestors, of their forefathers, can be their friends. There's a difference between allies and friends. Allies, let me give you an instance. During the First World War, Turkey was an ally of Germany. In the Second World War, Turkey was an ally of USA. Shall you understand? In 2025, Turkey is in NATO. And meanwhile, the first 100 years ago, Turkey fought against European powers. So today we can be allies, tomorrow we can be friends. So allies is different from friendship. So if too many people make a mistake in here, in the name of why you say APC alliance and PDP alliance, you do not even understand that you need to be able to understand that that's why they say in politics there is no permanent friends or no permanent enemy. But it is not in geopolitics. We don't use things like friends. We talk about allies, because allies is just business partners. Today we are fighting as brothers in arms. Tomorrow we can be at the battlefront facing each other. So what of von Bismarck? For instance, Otto von Bismarck went to war, led the Prussian forces together with Austria to go and fight to take a particular state in northern Germany called Schleswig-Holstein, and took it from the Danish, from Denmark, and added it into the territory of the new German state that was formed in the 1850s. I want to quote Otto von Bismarck. He said, when things were not going, things were getting hot, things were getting hard. He said, Although he said the question of the day cannot be answered by roundtable discussions and by talks, but the question of the day as regards the German state can be answered through blood and iron. That was what Otto von Bismarck said, and I quote verbatim. And when you talk about this kind of a situation, and that was how Germany was formed. That powerful German country, the most prosperous Caucasian, the most prosperous Western power for the past 200 years. That was how Germany was formed. So it was more of an amalgamation. It was not different from what Chief Obafemi Awolowo did. Chief Obafemi Awolowo understood. He saw what was happening to his people. And he created Egbe Omoduduwa. And if you don't know, Think Yoruba First is founded on the principles of Egbe Omoduduwa. We are following down footsteps because Chief Obafemi Awolowo has laid down footsteps down. I remember when we started talking, preaching our message several years ago, many people that were afraid of associating with us are now openly associating with us. We are so happy with these new gains because they finally understood that these people are not extremists. These people are not secessionists. These people are not, a lot of people have given us different images, different bad names. They can only try, but we will not stop as regards to what we are doing. Because we know our Lord did not fail, we will not fail. Because we know he started a job that we have to finish. And we must get it right. And that is why when we say TYF is TYF, we are focused, we are strategic, we are looking into the future. We are never going to be distracted by anything. We know what we are doing. We know what we are saying. It's not because of arrogance. It's not because we believe, it doesn't work that way in nationalism. Because there is a vision that drives an institution. We can align. People can align. But you cannot collapse into, no. It's a different ball game. And mo fẹ́ sọ̀rọ̀ ní Yorùbá. Ẹ̀mí tí a fi dá the spiritual backing, tá a fi dá organization, institution kọ̀ọ̀kan yàtọ̀. Ó yàtọ̀. Because the spiritual controls the physical. What we are doing is not cloud chasing. What we are doing is not because we want to have Twitter likes. It is beyond that. We are trying to work hard and hope that Olodumare will ensure that the Yoruba race will be part of that race that will survive this century. I want to give you something that happened between 1900. Between 1900 to 1990, 1900, the Oyo Empire ceased to exist. Two Yoruba empires ceased to exist between 1900. So a lot of things happens within 100 years. We are within that 100 years currently. And many people are just living their careless lives. But we are part of those that will change the course of history. Between 1900 to 1820, Oyo Empire ceased to exist. It ceased to exist. Between 1900 to 1900, Ibadan Empire, the first Republican empire in Africa, ceased to exist. So two Yoruba empires ceased to exist within the space of 100 years. Between 1900 and year 2000, Yoruba people lost their sovereignty in Nigeria, in the world. What happened to us? There was an independent country called the United Commonwealth Kingdom of the Egbas. It lost its sovereignty. Egba Kingdom that was like a country, ceased to exist as an independent country. It's a Yoruba city state too. So we lost and we became so we were amalgamated with different civilizations in 1914. So our reality was changed just 100 years ago. So decades here, within 200 years, European powers destroyed the reality, destroyed our geopolitics, destroyed the way the Yoruba people view the world. 200 years ago. It's not that far. Don't think it's far. It's not that far. Let's say 2 generations lived 100 years. So within 2 generations, that reality of a race changed. So ẹ má fi intent tá a fi ń ṣeré yẹn tá à ń sọ yìí. That is why we are saying we know where we are going. And it is beyond cloud chasing. And that is why when we say the central core, we want to take the swift decisions, what we are doing, we know what we are doing. If you see us advocate for anything, it's well thought of. And we know what needs to be done. Our aim is that Yoruba land, Yoruba people must survive within Nigeria. Because it is not all civilizations that will survive in Nigeria. Not all. Look at what is happening in Syria. It's gone. It's been destroyed. The Western powers have destroyed that country. There's the entire country again. Look at what is happening in Palestine. Western powers have destroyed that country. That is what empires do. They destroy, they consume, they annihilate. You want to make sure we won't for the fact. So what did Awolowo do? Awolowo created Egbe Omoduduwa. Awolowo did not have guns like Otto von Bismarck of Prussia, who had one of the best soldiers in Europe during his time. Otto von Bismarck did not have, Awolowo did not have the resources of Otto von Bismarck. He was just a man, a secretary of NURTW, a common man, a man whose father died at a very young age, a man that was once an houseboy, a man that was very poor, that came from a family that didn't give him anything, a family that, I'm sorry to say this, not well-to-do. One of the reasons why Obafemi Awolowo was hated by the Yoruba elites of the First Republic was that they felt that, who is your father? Question to man bi Awolowo nìyẹn, ìwọ ọmọ tó kí bàbá ẹ poor, who are you? Ìwọ ọmọ tó níran ẹ, wá fẹ́ máa sọ fún wa, you want to be ruling us. That was the reason why a lot of the Saro elites, I'm not insulting the Saros. The Saro Yorubas were the first educated groups in the First Republic. So one of the reasons that Awolowo had with the Yorubas of Lagos colony was classism. And what he did to them, he destroyed that classism by making sure that the child of the farmer, the child of the Pamwan Tapa, in the village in Odogbolu, in the village at Ikire, can go to school, speak English, side by side with the sons and daughters of Rosevivor from Lagos Island. That was what Awolowo did. He destroyed feudalism and classism. He destroyed aristocracy within Yoruba land. That is what Awolowo did with his free education, because he knew if he doesn't do it, his people will be feudalized. He saw the danger in Nigeria, that a particular part of Nigeria has already institutionalized feudalism and classism and aristocracy and elitism. And he's also seeing what the East was doing, trying to create the Igbos as the superior and master race in Nigeria. So he knew we were in trouble. And he used the educational system. That is why it is very, very difficult. Even though a lot of Yoruba people sold out, they were doing obedience in order to destroy their homeland. People like us to school, people like us who are not funded by anybody, who are just normal Yoruba people, who are just Western educated, doing well in their personal career, can see through that charade and fight tooth and nail without anybody buying our conscience. It is because of what Obafemi Awolowo has done. Now, going back to what I'm talking about, Egbe Omoduduwa, one of the vows of Chief Obafemi Awolowo, when he went to London, and let me tell you something, the diaspora has been extremely important in the liberation of the Yoruba people. The diaspora has always been important in the liberation of any struggle, any freedom struggle anywhere in the world. It was the Jewish diaspora that created the state of Israel. It was the Algerian Arab diaspora that liberated Algeria from the liberation of the French Empire in the 1950s. It was the diaspora that did a lot of damage against the apartheid regime in South Africa. It was the diaspora. The diaspora is extremely important in any freedom struggle. In any freedom struggle for the past 200 years, the diaspora. Don't joke with it. So what happened? Chief Obafemi Awolowo Egbe Omoduduwa was first founded in London. It was in London that Chief Obafemi Awolowo learned when he came to the United Kingdom. He saw the English, he saw the Irish, he saw the French, he saw Europe for what it is. French for the French, English for England, French for France, English for England, German for Germany, and he read a lot and like, this is the case of Africa. Why are you not trying to genocide, ethnocide, linguicide, and destroy our organic identity? And say you want and give us the identity of Flora Shaw, the girlfriend of Lord Lugard. This is beyond what we call imperialism. And he said, he vowed that before he comes back into politics full blown, he must unite the Yoruba people into a single political bloc. He must turn the Yoruba people from a civilization state into a nation state. And Chief Obafemi Awolowo did it. But at which cost? Ofome Erubo. The son of Chief Obafemi Awolowo died in that battle. That's why we need to understand where we are coming from and know where we are going to. Chief Obafemi Awolowo lost his son in this struggle in order to ensure that the Yoruba people are united within a united nation state. So the unity of the Yoruba people into a nation state, instead of just a civilization state, Chief Obafemi Awolowo did it. That is why we have what we call a Yoruba land today. That is why we can have a 6 southwestern states to be reciting the Oduduwa anthem, which we've already just sang. Because those were the fundamentals of Awolowo. And that is the definition of Awoism. That is why you see that TYF does not joke with the Yorubas of Okun, of Kogi State, of Delta State, of Edo State, of Kwara State. Just as the way we talk about the Yorubas of Southwest. Because that is the definition of Awoism. Now, let me now go back to the juxtaposition. What Chief Obafemi Awolowo achieved through guns and bullets. What Otto von Bismarck achieved through guns and bullets in Germany in 1950s. Chief Obafemi Awolowo achieved it through diplomacy, brain power, intellectualism in 1950s. So you need to understand that this man is beyond ordinary. This man is beyond the normal person. Chief Oduduwa created the classical Yoruba civilization state. Awolowo created the classical modern Yoruba nation state. And that is the foundation in which every Yoruba nationalist, every political leader, every Awoist, every Yoruba political leaders are working on. That is why you see that every time because the Igbos are our competitors in Nigeria. The Hausa Fulanis are our competitors in Nigeria. Our competitors in Nigeria. You need to understand that. So we need to understand all this reality. That these people are our competitors. And there's no problem. The British created that system. So it is us that think that we are not in a state of competition with these people. We are in a state of competition with these people. So we have to understand this reality of Yoruba land. We have to understand this reality of Nigeria. We have to understand this reality of where we are coming from. And that is the fundamentals of Awoism. So when you look at the picture, if you know how important Otto von Bismarck is in changing the course of history of the Germans, in changing the course of history of Europe, in changing the course of the history of Western civilization, Anglo-Saxon civilization, that is what Chief Obafemi Awolowo was. That was why he was so deadly that they had to kill his son and they had to throw him in prison. 3 years after Nigeria got independence, they wanted him gone. They wanted him gone because what he stood for is the renaissance, is the restoration of a decadent, of a destroyed Yoruba civilization. That is why somebody said, a young boy was talking out of ignorance few days ago that, Yoruba people have become retarded. That's why they cannot kill. They've not been able to produce any Awolowo. The closest we had to Awolowo was assassinated, which was Chief Bola Ige. He spoke Hausa, he spoke Igbo, he spoke Yoruba fluently. He was an orator. He understood everything. He was a hardcore Awoist. They killed him. They killed him, not just he was killed. And nobody has been arrested till today because of the assassination of that man. It is because we don't know our history and we don't know where we are coming from. That is why we've become so weak. We've become so decadent in the defense of Yoruba civilization, in the defense of Yoruba identity, in the defense of who is Yoruba, and that is why a lot of our youths have become decadent. I also want to say this. So Chief Obafemi Awolowo is the founder of the modern Yoruba race, founder of the modern Yoruba nation. And we need to give him that kudos. What he did, other people achieved it through war. Other people achieved it through bloodshed. The unification of Japan was not achieved through diplomacy. Unification of Japan, the different kings, the different kingdoms, dukes, warlords, city-states in Japan was achieved through war. Through war. The destruction of feudalism in Japan between the samurai class and the emperor of Japan, when he wanted to bring revolution into Japan, was not done through diplomacy. It was done through war. Chief Obafemi Awolowo did not fight any war before he destroyed feudalism and aristocracy in the Yoruba land. He did it through brain power. I don't think that is replicable anywhere in the world. That is why some people say that man is not an ordinary man. The reason why a lot of our youth do not actually understand what Chief Obafemi Awolowo was is because of the bastardization of our educational system and the constant and the intermingling with other race who are all bent in the destruction of the Yoruba people within Nigeria. So this is Awoism. So you cannot say you are a political leader of the Yoruba people. You cannot say you are a political leader of the Yoruba, or you are leading the Yoruba people without having any form of Yoruba consciousness. That is why political Christianity and political Islam has no place in Nigeria. And let me tell you something, brothers and sisters. The generation that Awolowo fought for gave free education, gave everything they needed. That generation is decadent. They are not ready to die for the Yoruba people. They are not ready to do anything and put their life out for the Yoruba people. They are selfish, they are self-centered. It's a bitter truth. Those are the characteristics of a decadent people. They don't even understand what we are saying. They believe because they have master's degree, they have the capacity to talk. Or they believe, they travel here and there, they can also contribute and be talking on Yoruba issues. But that's not true. Because the reality is, only few people have the spirit and wisdom of Awolowo and Awoism living in them. And Awoism is not Yoruba nation self-determination. It's a different ball game. Awoism is bigger and more powerful than Yoruba secession, Yoruba nation now. Emma compare. They are different things entirely. What Awoism is a different thing entirely. Awoism is the restoration of Yoruba renaissance and Yoruba civilization and the coagulation and the amalgamation into a Yoruba nation state. Because people don't understand the powerful it is to have a Yoruba nation state. And that was why and let me tell you something. What Chief Obafemi Awolowo did, how important it is. For the first time since the days of Oduduwa, Oyo, Benin, and Ife were within the same political system, under the same umbrella in the Western region. Those are the fundamentals, those are the elements that made up the Yoruba civilization state. And that was why it was a lifelong ambition of Zik and the Igbos to destroy the Western region and turn the Benin against the Yoruba people. It's like turn Benin issue and the Benin people and the Yoruba people is not different from Ukraine and Russia. Both of them come from the same civilization, Kiev Rus. That's what is happening. But the West has been able to weaponize Ukrainian nationalism against Russians. It's not different from what has happened in Nigeria. We saw it what transpired in the last election in 2023. When Benin people became the mouthpiece of hate against, most Benin nationalists became the mouthpiece of hate against the Yoruba race. It is not a Benin man that wants to become the president. Benin people cannot become the president. Ukraine can never become a superpower in Western Europe. It is just another baggage. So why is it now being used to destroy Russia? Because it's the same. It's the same propaganda. That is why what we are doing here is extremely important in the preservation of the Yoruba race. And we need to do what we need to do. We need to be proactive. We need to be at the forefront. And we need to continue to educate our people. And that's why I said, this is not the time to be thinking you want to go and form a political party. Nationalism, you have form political party. To do what? This is not the time for you to think you can use nationalism to make money. This is not the thing you think you can use nationalism. What would you think you are? You need to do the job. You need to work your ass out. This is what Awoism is all about. This is what Awoism is all about. This is what Awoism is all about. Sorry. This is what Awoism is all about. So, brothers and sisters, I'm going to end here because I'll be able to speak for more than, I think, 35, 40 minutes by trying to compare and contrast Otto von Bismarck and Awoism and Awolowo. And another person that looks like Otto von Bismarck, like Awolowo, is the father of modern Turkey in the person of Kemal Atatürk, who founded Kemalism. You see, all these things I'm telling you, all these things we are talking about is extremely important in understanding nationalism. If you don't have this basis, nationalism, that's why I got extremely angry when I was discussing geopolitics. And someone said, just leave geopolitics, focus on Yoruba. How can you be so condescending? Because some of us, it's not because we think, hey, do you think you're an encyclopedia? I say, yeah, I'm an encyclopedia. If that's what you want to know, I have to say that. Because we have to make sure, because the way ignorance spreads is the way wisdom spreads. For instance, many of you, like Nigeria to India, India won Nigeria in 1991. I know many of you have heard that. I remember when I was in secondary school, as a son of a football, as someone that comes from a footballing nation, a footballing family. And I said, no, this is not true. Nigeria and India has never played football all their life. So what you guys are saying is wrong. This conversation happened around 1996, 1997. Rubbish when it's not true. Nigeria, you cannot have 99-1. Once you score more than 20 goals, the referee will cancel the match. According to the laws of the game, there is 17 laws of. Nonsense, they almost beat me. And let me not tell you the truth. This is the reality of Nigeria. This is the reality of mediocrity. Mediocrity also spreads. Evil also spreads. That is why it is impossible for TYF to allow some people to spread evil while trying to say, are we not all Yorubas? The way wisdom spreads is the way mediocrity also spreads. But what we currently have in this Yoruba land, this decadent Yoruba land, is because mediocrity is currently spreading all across Yoruba land. Mediocrity is currently spreading. Our youth, they don't have solid knowledge of nationalism. They don't have solid knowledge of what needs to be done to salvage the Yoruba people. They are more interested. These youth love power, they love materialism, and they love leadership without having what it takes to lead. And this is one of the dangers of having Western education without any form of Western African consciousness. Nítorí ẹ̀ ní ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ àwọn Yorùbá obedient. It is until they got humiliated. Only many of them ṣe máa ń rántí pé ìtàn ṣe fáwọn olóbìdent yìí ò dá. It's not because they had an superior ideological conversion. And irú àwọn èèyàn báyẹn, they are still not part of you. If the obedient movement gives them money, position, and power tomorrow, they will switch camp. Because some believe that you cannot teach them anything. You cannot tell them anything. I want to school now. I want to ND now. I want to HND now. And those are the most stupid people you can find anywhere in the world. And that's the situation of things we found ourselves. Western education without any form of African consciousness makes people easy to be manipulated, to be used, to be dumped, and to be subjugated. If you don't have any form of ethnic consciousness, you are gone. That is why I would always respect an average Yoruba illiterate, don't ta kerosene, kawe. I love them. Ju Yoruba tó ní PhD mẹ́ta mẹ́rin lọ. Tó jẹ́ pé kò dẹ̀ ní any form of Yoruba consciousness. Those kind of people will justify your destruction. Before rounding up, do people know this? That there were Jews who joined Adolf Hitler to kill their fellow Jews during the Second World War. There were Jews. Persian kó gbogbo àwọn Jew lọ sí different concentration camps here. So Bibo, all these camps, Poland, Ukraine, Eastern Germany. Do you know there were Jews who were doing the covering up and saying that there was nothing wrong in doing it because they were getting material benefits in the mass extermination of their own people? So we have such people in Yoruba land who will gladly clap for the destruction of Yoruba land because they are mentally decadent. They are mentally decadent. Kitty wife, Lola, come and make sure we are doing 3 million surgery for the Yoruba people and making sure that free this, free that, liberating Yoruba people and everything. There will still be Yoruba people that will about 20,000 naira. Láti máa bà wá lórúkọ jẹ́, or to start leaking our phone numbers, leaking our private lives for people to start harassing and destroying and insulting us. That is the situation of things we found ourselves. And how do you survive this kind of a people? We have to be strong. And that's the mistake Awolowo made. That's why most Yoruba people, they are always looking for Awolowo. Because Awolowo took bullets for the Yoruba people. That's why I said, no Yoruba leader must take bullets for the Yoruba people again. Because it was because Yoruba leaders like Tinubu get bullets for Wamo. Not for the ordinary people like me are doing this thing and fighting for our people. Awolowo was doing, and all the Agbagba Abraham Adesoya, they were doing the dirty work, so that their people will not be destroyed within Nigeria. Now, we no longer have such leaders anymore. And we are producing people like Osibajo that goes about saying that they should remove state of origin. Those are the kind of leaders we have. People that do not care if we go extinct as a people. Wicked souls. Wicked souls. And they mask their evil, their wickedness by their sophistry of trying to look humane. They want to look as if they are humane. Meanwhile, they are not humane. They are tools of globalism. They are tools of destruction. They are tools of genocide. They are tools of ethnocide. So, I'm going to stop here. And I've been able to compare and contrast Awolowo and Otto von Bismarck. And I also mentioned Atatürk Kemal of Turkey. So I think Donka will come up and talk about Awoism and Akintolaism. Thank you very much, everyone. May Olódùmarè continue to be with us. Ẹ ṣé púpọ̀.